Hello, welcome everyone to 1 Million Minds. I'm again here with Balaji. We have a amazing show on tap for you guys. We're going to talk about a couple of interesting topics um, that we see in the space and want to deep dive into those, but also want to kind of recap who we are targeting. Right, we are really trying to talk through the future of the deep tech trends we see. And as entrepreneurs, where do you focus your energy for the next 3 to 5 years? There's a lot of noise out there, scams. So we want to cut through that. We don't really care about getting rich quick overnight. We really want to see where is the builders going, where is the investment going, and where is the industry going. So I think everybody's familiar with the hype cycle. I think if you look at the AI cycle, I think we passed the trough of disillusionment and we are in the what I'll consider as actual use cases that the world needs. I think the blockchain technology is going through that space too. But if you kind of look forward 3 to 5 years, we are very excited about the space and we see a lot of opportunity. So Balaji is going to deep dive into cross chain bridges. And I have a little bit of a deep dive that I've done, just some research on NFTs and what is the future of NFTs, at least honing on a few use cases that is makes sense to us. So that's where we were going to go. And Balaji, do you have anything to say before we start?
Happy Friday, folks. We are there, almost there. End of the week. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Rajni. Thanks for having me. I think it's going to be it's a dear topic for me. The way the cross chain, what do you call it? Ecosystem is evolving, right? So I think I'm going to talk about one such cross chain bridging technology in this particular episode. But let's get right to it. Let me change my screen here.
Awesome.
All right. So, so again, continuing with the topic of Web3 and what Web3 means and how certain evolving technologies and innovations are helping us get there. One of the topic of key interest is there's a lot of blockchains now. As we all know, there's a lot of layer ones, and there's layer twos and layer threes possibly soon. But in the meantime, how are these chains talking to each other? Why do they need to talk to each other? Is even more interesting topic. So once I was digging through some of these topics, the use case that evolved in my mind was, okay, so if I'm a business and if I am trying to develop a DApp and try to accept payments in a variety of tokens, I want all of those payments to settle in a particular stablecoin. Let's say, for argument's sake, it's USDC. How would that work? And even more so, I want it settled in an Ethereum blockchain. And while I do my DApp in some other layer one, I still want my payments settled in a different blockchain. So these are the variations in the actual flow that bring these use cases into life. I think the cross-chain bridging is one of those aspects that we need to focus on to bring this solution. So what's the actual core foundation or the design goal of these cross-chain bridges? So let's review. There's three things that the designers are going after. So one is instant guaranteed finality. So essentially what that means is you want to guarantee the funds on the destination chain when the transaction is actually successfully committed in the source chain. So imagine you're doing transaction between chain A and chain B, and you want instant finality. Unified liquidity is the second aspect. Now that you have multiple chains, there's now the concept of fractured liquidity because there's some liquidity in chain A, there is some in B. Ideally, you want unified liquidity so you can make these kind of transactions possible and seamless. The third aspect is native assets. So whenever you're transferring assets from one chain to another, you want to make sure you're receiving the same asset on the other side. And we'll walk through certain cases where it's not the case. You get a synthetic asset, or like a wrapped ether, or a synthetic USDC, or whatever be the derivative that is. So this brings
Yeah,
the. Go ahead, Richie.
yeah, this is good though. So I'm just trying to, from a noob in this field like I am, right? It is, we use this on a daily basis, whether it's a Mastercard or Visa, but most end users never understand or never need to understand what's happening behind the scene. But these are what I'll consider building blocks for successful Web3, right? If you don't have this, a lot of transactions won't even work. Even from a, I know a lot of people are excited about just transferring, let's just say Bitcoin from one country to another, but being able to go cross chain is going to make it more feasible from a long term survivability of some of these cross chains, because there is a conversation. Okay, only one blockchain is going to succeed. That takes the whole joy of the whole Web3 concept of it. Right? So if multiple blockchains can coexist, and from the user perspective, it's transparent on how these things move across. These need to work for us to have more long-term adoption and more people coming on board. So this is very, very good information.
Absolutely. If you think about the usability, right? Some chains focus on more user interface, and developers come there to develop their apps, but they may not be the greatest in terms of certain aspects of scalability, right? So, but they want it. So things like that are always there. So this kind of bridging makes sure that people can choose what they like in each system and stitch it all together into a single solution, if you will.
That's
So,
awesome. Okay.
So this trilemma, right? Now that we have three things that need to be satisfied, it brings another trilemma, like the blockchain trilemma. So at any point in time, some of the existing cross-chain bridges are able to satisfy one or two at most, and not all three. And we'll get to one solution further down the slides where they're able to, or they claim at least for now, to satisfy all three. So the three aspects we discussed before: instant guaranteed finality, unified liquidity, native assets. Some of the cross chains give you instant finality, but may not be great at keeping a unified liquidity, or even giving you access to native asset on the other side, or they satisfy only two of these. So what are the current architectures that are being used? So the most common one that's out there is if you're trying to transfer fund from chain A to chain B, they give you a way to lock and mint a synthetic, take it to the other chain, burn it, and redeem it for the native asset. Seems logical, but the drawback here is now that you're ending up with a synthetic token, and now you have to convert it back, and it's kind of an inconvenience. And also, it's not a single transaction; it could be ending up in multiple transactions. So this is the drawback, and with this first approach. The second one, there's unified liquidity. There's ability to get native asset, but then it takes longer time to get the finality. Much like your bank transfer. I mean, you're transferring from one bank to another. It takes time. It'll eventually end up getting there, but it essentially takes time. The third one that's proposed by this company called Stargate Finance is a Delta algorithm, which implements a swap bridge and a swap mechanism, where they are able to guarantee they are able to satisfy all these three criteria by using a layer 0 protocol plus cross-chain composability feature. So essentially, they execute a distributed transaction with multiple smart contracts, all magically done. So you don't have to worry about all this.
So, like walking through a use case that I know familiar with is sending, let's say, money to India, right? Or even domestically, there's a $30 transaction fee, and it settles within 24 to 48 hours. So kind of building on that, will this be cheaper and faster in the new Web3 world than what's currently?
A good question. I like any technology as it is being developed. Maybe it's a function of mass adoption versus the fee structure, right? So, for example, right now the Stargate technology guys, I think essentially they have a 0.05% fee on the transaction to get it from blockchain A to blockchain B. Obviously, compared to traditional method or traditional finance, this is going to settle way faster, right? Whether the fee structure and the reward system they have, I think most blockchains they implement higher reward system as they continue to grow. But eventually, I think the technology will benefit the people who are using it at some point. So, from what I see, I think it's a 0.05%, which could be a few dollars depending on the size of the transaction.
Perfect.
All right, let's get. So to summarize, the use case that I was looking at was how can I get USDC on one blockchain to USDC on another blockchain? How can I swap it at the fastest, at the cheapest compared to everything else out there in the blockchain ecosystem? So Stargate Technologies' main mission is a composable native asset bridge with unified liquidity and instant guaranteed finality. I mean, basically, they stuck all three criteria in their mission statement. Like, so, right. So I just pulled that from their website. So the chains currently supported are Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche, Binance, Phantom, Optimism, and Arbitrum. Again, they continue to add, and they are focusing on stablecoin transfer. I mean, there's a lot of flavors when you look at this cross-chain ecosystem, right? There are some which does purely Ethereum-based tokens, or they do just interact with Ethereum with another blockchain only, or there's this concept of side chains, parachains, all kind of bridges that are available to interoperate. But I think we need a system that mixes and matches any to any, not just necessarily pick and choose a type of chain A to chain B type of interaction. So I think that's where I think they're doing a lot of innovation right now. So to summarize, the problem space is that the cross-chain bridges rely on intermediate or wrap tokens. They only support a small or limited number of chains, and they cannot be composed into smart contracts on the destination chain. And Stargate Finance seems to solve all of these problems and bring those benefits to the end user. So again, we'll see in the next DeFi run how much total value locked gets into this Stargate, right? I mean, currently I think they're probably at half like 500 million type of total value locked in different chains. But again, once the DeFi starts running again, I think we have to see how these things continue to grow.
So how do they make money? Is it a transaction fee? How does Stargate or any bridge, how do they make money?
So in this case, again, I have not gone through every other type of bridge, but in this case, they basically have a token, Stargate token, and essentially people provide funds for the liquidity pool, and they get rewarded. When the swaps happen, the 0.05%, vast majority of it get distributed to the liquidity pool providers. So basically, you can take, if you have some Ether that you wanted to provide a liquidity to Stargate, you can provide it in Ethereum blockchain, or if you have USDC in some other chain. So essentially, you are going to provide your liquidity to make these operations possible, and in turn, you get rewarded.
Got it. So that's good though. So they kind of run these liquidity pools, and if I was somebody in Ethereum chain, I can contribute towards the pool and get rewards. But if I so that's pretty straightforward. So from a risk perspective, it's good that the reason I'm thinking through this is when the other ones that are bridges, they swap it to synthetic. There's always a risk of swapping and all that, right? So do you see any the good news is if it works, it's great. And I feel like having multiple chains and the developer and the end user have capabilities of using whatever chain, or not even knowing what chain they're using a product, and maybe Ethereum is like the settlement layer in the bottom. That's happy path. Uh, we're gonna have to go through some learning pains before we get there. Do you see any risks in these bridges?
Oh, absolutely. I think star with any technology in blockchain, right? There's the first level of risk is always the who's writing these smart contracts, how well are they reviewed, these bridges, because now there's a liquidity pool associated with it is a prime target for attack, right? Essentially, I don't have to go to the Ethereum chain itself to hack it, or maybe I just hack the bridge, and you hear these headlines that this bridge got hacked or that bridge got hacked, because they all have these honeypots right now, and if the code is not clean or not secure, becomes target. So that risk is always there in the entire industry, right? That's what I think it needs to eventually happen if you think about it, right? One other thing I'll throw in there, right? So if you look at the regular businesses that operate, right now, if I have to take a credit card payment, I go through payment processor, things that will eventually end up in my bank account a day or two later if you have a lot of transactions, or if you are a low volume person. Maybe it takes a week even to get the money. So technologies like this probably help with the cash flow of the company itself, because if money settles faster, that's the amount of money you don't have to float to get the business going. The second thing is that the insurance aspect of blockchain is still evolving. Again, there's a reason why insurance is not. Again, there are some companies doing it in very specific areas, but with all this code not getting reviewed properly or hacks going on, it's tough to insure anything. But once we get past all that, and we have a system where we know that it's predictable and it's reviewed and it's secure, insurance is going to come into play. And I think that's when everything gets more interesting, because how do you revert, let's say someone in Visa and all these cases, right? Somebody charged your credit card and you need it reverted. How does it happen in the blockchain, right? Who's insuring that transaction? A lot of questions around that area, right? How do you get the money back?
Yeah, we are very early in this journey, but definitely very interesting one. And I think a lot of people are working on this, so I'm pretty sure we're going to see some cool innovation in this field.
Absolutely. And as a final note, I have a few reference links. We'll drop it on the comment section, and if you're inclined, you can dig further.
Perfect. Thank you. That was very helpful for somebody new like me to cross-chain bridges. That was very informative. So that's like intent, right? We are reading, looking, talking to so many people. So we want to share what I'll consider is a more one-on-one level of each one of these, and then our audience can deep dive into any topics. As entrepreneurs, you're always curious to learn, so it'll be good for them to deep dive into one thing that they like and then learn more. So that's what we want to do. Saying that, we want to move to our next topic, which is NFTs. And I want to let you know, like most people, I'm also I wasn't a big, strong proponent of NFTs, because when I saw that it just felt like a more of a gold rush. Everybody was in it to make money, flipping it. Nobody, there was no real value from my perspective on some of these JPEGs getting flipped and people making money. But I think it's safe to say the euphoria has died down, right? So the volume from January to now is 97%. So basically took a big nosedive. So it's bad news for you if you own some of the NFTs that last went to zero. But if you're an observer from outside, I think it's great, because what it does is now it wipes out people who are just there to make a quick buck. But really, I personally feel if you fast forward 3 to 5 years from now, NFTs are here to stay. And there were so many amazing use cases that you can use it for. A lot of companies are getting into it. A lot of mainstream companies are trying to use it. So I want to talk a little bit more about that. And again, I can rattle off 20 different use cases, but I want to really hone in on 3 or 4 that I feel like are personal to me, that I get a little bit more. So starting that, so as you can see, the volume has gone down. But why are NFTs here to stay is one of them is a big use case is collectibles. As a young kid, I collected like pictures on bubblegum wrappers. My son collected Pokemon cards. So as human beings, we like collectibles, right? But the medium is different now. We were doing things we could hold, but now we've all moved into more of a digital world, and now collectibles are kind of following it. So as you can see, the projection is for it to become a $628 billion market. But overall, collectibles has accumulated as a 6% growth. But I think digital collectibles are almost 6-7 times faster growth rate than regular collectibles. So there's a big market. There's ways we can use this. We'll talk a little bit more about it in the future slides. But overall, my perspective is in 3 to 5 years, collectibles, especially NFT collectibles, is going to be a big market. People will be using it for showing exclusivity or just to flex, whatever it is, or just have collectibles. My son collects Pokemon, so maybe we collect rookie cards from NBA players. The opportunity here is endless. So I want to get your thoughts on it, Balaji. Any feedback or thoughts on it?
Oh, absolutely. I think collectibles alone has gone from the $1 million worth collectibles to the more brand aware collectibles, right? I think the moment I see this, I remember McDonald's is exploring how can I make an NFT collectible. Again, they have the physical in real world collectible. How can I transfer that into digital, right? And Chipotle is experimenting with the fact that, hey, I can have the user actually interact and create a recipe, and when the food is made, maybe you get your recipe as a collectible NFT. I mean, people are getting creative in terms of how can I make my brand attach itself to this collectible. Again, it's not the same as the ape collectible or something, but again, there's now different levels of importance and brand awareness and other things that are getting into play. It's exciting to see what they're doing.
Great. And I think there's 2 or 3 ways you can get involved in, right? You could be the artist or a person creating these collectible, or you could be the one as investor owning the collectible, or somebody who's facilitating. Like for example, Salesforce is right now understands a lot of companies are wanting to understand the space and create their own NFTs. So they're making a product available for their customers, right? How do you upsell your customers who already bought into Salesforce? So everybody understands there's a big market brewing, so they want their in it. So you could help on that side where you are selling the picks and shovels for this rush that's coming, or you could be one of the people who actually makes this for companies. So it's going to be exciting. So
Makes
moving
sense.
to
Yeah.
our next use case is membership. So I know a lot of you have gym membership, library membership, and maybe some of these are free, some of them you paid into. You part of groups. I'm part of some really technical groups, some groups that are management or leadership training. But as you get into these groups, once you leave the group, basically your membership to them, yes, you found knowledge or you learned something from the group, you made your network, but the membership as such goes to zero once you leave it, right? So what if you could have, instead of just getting a membership, you're actually investing in a group? So let's say you form a community, you're part of a community, and there's a limited set of people who can get into it. The only way somebody else can get into it is I sell my seat to them. So now there's a prestige associated with being part of it, and then your only way to get in is to buy NFT. So there's ways to actually leverage technology like NFT to make membership more of almost like an investment rather than just a subscription, right? But there are people who are actually doing this right now where you can get digital tickets to get exclusive access to early access or limited edition products. Like Gary Vee is doing his V Friends community NFT, where if you want, you have to have that NFT to be part of the community. But if you're part of it, you might get airdrops. You'll get, that's your ticket to get into multi-day conference events. So the concept of membership, I barely scratched the surface, right? The concept of membership and using the NFT for membership and being able to give exclusive access to certain things is here to stay, I think, and I think it's got a lot of growth opportunity. Any thoughts on that, Balaji?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of the cases where transitioning the real world use case into the NFT space, right? I mean, the exclusivity, like you touched upon, is a big thing in certain cases. But even otherwise, I think the ability to prove that you're a member, I think that's another twist to the whole thing, right? Because it's an NFT, the ability to prove that you are a member, it becomes easier as opposed to the regular traditional method. It's easy to verify by a third party. Things like that come into play, right? And the last thing I can think of is a sort of a similar way, but it's a proof of attendance, sort of membership. But if you attended something, right, and you get some type of NFT that's attached to that, and now you're part of that group of people who attended something. So yeah, I think this is a very valuable use case.
Live recording is when the phone rings. Okay, so I think yeah, I was looking at, I've been to conferences, and if you attended the conference, you get an NFT, and now you have a community of people who attended who can continue the conversations after that. That is, I think that'll be great. I think there's so many use cases that are going to come out of this. I'm excited to see what happens in the next few years. All right, another use case that's near and dear to my heart is the video game assets. So I've played video games since I'm 5 years old, right? And I'm still continuing to play. The latest game I've dedicated a lot of my years is Walking Dead. And I've been playing that for a while. And you not only dedicate energy into it, you put money into it to buy things to upgrade your character, buy different skins or avatars. So if you're not in the gaming industry, it's tough to kind of wrap your mind around it that people will spend so much money on the digital goods and virtual goods, clothes and stuff. 2020 is 54 billion was spent. So, and I don't see
Wow.
that going down. I just see that increasing, right? So these are not just things that the characters need to become strong or anything. These are just sometimes just a fancy skin that you wear just because you like it. So, and these are now available. Now, if you buy it, right? If I leave the game, it's gone. Just like my membership with anything else, I've invested hundreds of dollars and it's just gone. But if there's an opportunity to move this asset from one game to another, in theory that makes sense. But unless something like what Balaji just talked about, cross-chain bridges work, how do you move it from a game that is in one blockchain to another blockchain? So these are things that need to get ironed out, but I absolutely see value in doing something like this and being able to sell an item or something I built, an avatar, an 80 level wizard, to somebody else because I'm done with the game, right? I've invested so much time. If I can actually get money out of it, then it almost becomes like a play to earn concept will come into it because you're either you spent money or you've been grinding for 5 years, you get something out of it. A lot of
Absolutely.
gaming companies, a lot of gaming companies have don't want this to happen because it cuts into their profits. But other companies like Ubisoft is adopting, right? They are making cosmetic NFTs available. That they could, the users could use it and then sell it for real money. So right now, there are some ways to make this happen that is not all within the terms of surface of the games, but market is there, the secondary market. But moving this to blockchain just makes it so much more easier. It can be authenticated. You don't like fall for a scam, which also happens right now, right? So it's exciting. It's a field that is going to continue to grow, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm not as big a gamer as you are, but I can think of cases where one of the statistics you see from the gaming companies is like the people who spend the most are probably less than a percentage of the players, right? So they are the whales. So essentially, there's the rest of the ecosystem is wanna be the whale, right? So it makes a prime case where you spend so much on your gear, maybe you can rent it out to some of the others for 1 hour a week or whatever, right? So they get to enjoy the fun too. So again, there's a lot of other ways you can monetize your gear, right? And the second aspect, like you said, can I take my gear, go to another game, which allows me to import. But right now, I think much of these games probably end up siloed, right? You can't leave it. or even when they update the version of the game, maybe they get destroyed. You don't even actually own it, or who knows, right? Because the game developers decided, okay, version 2 to version 3, maybe these assets don't come along, right? That could be some games have done that, and it's a dramatic shift. And it's like, oh, what about all my assets? You can play the version 2, but version 3 can't have it. So I think I see real use cases there where you get to take your whatever you bought or whatever you have with you, right? That's a it's very key because you spend money and time on it.
Yeah, and I think we talked offline about this. Was what do people do right now? Is a lot of working around the system to sell it. I bought my one of my games from a whale. He had spent like $15,000+ on it over a year. He was just done with the game. I think he sold it to me for like $100 or something. But I had to get access to into his account and move the game over into my
No way, you
device.
got access to his login? That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah, you have to know enough to trust to get the credentials to log in, and then you move over. It was a process. It was an easy process, even though we've known each other over a year just playing games. I don't personally know him, but it was just a good way for me to upgrade my game without spending $15,000-$20,000. But in the new world, if that really happened, he could have got a much better return on his investments because maybe he wouldn't have got his $20,000 back. But what if you get 5,000 instead of $100? Still much better returns, right? So I feel like there is definitely a need for it and an easier way. I can see why there's a resistance from the gaming developers because, like you said, only 1% to 2%, 1% of people spend 95% of all of the things. But if they somehow can rent and borrow it, they have to have some cut of it. So those another options. If you sell, maybe a percentage of that goes to the gaming
Right,
developer.
exactly.
Right? So there's so many use
Just be
cases
like
that
Apple,
can make
take 30% of the profits. I'm just kidding.
if they can make it happen, I think there will be incremental revenue. Maybe it will be more than what they will from losing this capability. Getting some people who don't spend to actually spend on the game. I think it opens up a whole new world of opportunity. So I'm excited about it. All right, the last one I had it kind of builds on the concept of membership. Of instead of you like or basically becoming part of a group. Let's say you are somebody who identified an artist, a painter, or a musician early on, and the musician now is able to sell 1,000 unique OG first time fans NFTs. You buy. There's a couple of ways this will play out, right? If the musician completely blows up and they're amazing superstar artists, I have this OG NFT to flex to say, hey, I was somebody who found them when they were very, very early. So it's more of a bragging one. Or the other way to look at it is, okay, I bought this early. The only way anybody can get this collectible is buying it from me. So I bought it for $100. It's worth $10,000. I can decide if I want to sell it or keep it. That's up to me, right? But you didn't right now. There are Web2 services that Patreon where I can say, hey, I'm going to pay $20 a month to be a member because I believe Balaji is giving me really good information. But as soon as I stop the membership, it's gone. But if I had an NFT that I bought first thing, I have access to all of the things that information you put out. I'm part of your Discord group. I'm part of any exclusive things you do. And now as your cloud grows, the value of the NFT grows, right? So I can use this as a
Makes
membership
sense.
card. And if you had, I think the concept is if an artist has 1,000 true fans who are completely loyal, they'll buy everything you put out, your merch, they come to any concert you do. That's what it takes to make them more free, not have to worry about money, how they're going to get money to actually focusing on art. So there's that concept of being able to invest in an artist, almost find like an exclusive membership status with that particular artist, and also as a status. So you can put on your Twitter, your Facebook saying, hey, I really found this artist. You can find, it's almost, to me, almost like investing in early stage startups, founders and ideas, but you can flex saying, hey, I invested in Uber when it was just two people in a garage. So I'm excited about that.
So one thought I have is, okay, so you're getting discovered, and now you have established your own. I'm not sure whether maybe this is the right way to ask it. Do these artists who get discovered, do they get to establish their own token when they get into this blockchain business, or do they just um, go along with whatever, and then eventually when they become popular, they start minting their own tokens with their brand image and people buy it? Again, is it because I kind of get this image where there's a fixed amount of tokens which are special, but also as the fan base grows, there's going to be a need where you're going to continue to mint some of your brand tokens,
Yes.
right? So is it a two-tier system? How does this all play?
I mean, I think everybody's trying to figure that out because to your point, right? If I'm an unknown person, I'm minting a million NFTs in $100 of this, I'm pretty sure you're not going to sell out. But if you
Right.
say I'm unknown, but I'm only do 1,000, get in early when you can. But the next round of this is you get everything, right? For example, if you do the crowdsourcing, the top tier gets everything: free T-shirt, free thing, first account, you get unlimited access to the software, and then the tiers below that get lesser and lesser. So I think
Gotcha.
I envision something like that happening. So somebody who's investing in early get something better. So
Makes sense.
urgency, FOMO will get play into it, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the next
Got it.
concept is this is where we can dive deep for days. So I'm just going to kind of open this so that you can go do your own research. Is the intersection of decentralized finance and NFTs. So everybody, how do they intersect? So I feel like this is going to be the how the future is going to go. You can loan against your NFT, like we talked about. If you have an exclusive NFT, can we take a loan against it? Can we do multiple payments to buy an NFT? Can you rent a gaming NFT or some exclusive musician NFT for somebody else who's maybe attending an event and you can't go, so they want to go backstage and party with the artist, then they can rent it for it, so you get some of your investment back. Fractionalizing owning of an NFT as a community. I know the Constitutional DAO was trying to buy a DAO for I think it's like 40 million. I think they were out bid on it. But imagine you could buy real estate as a group, and then everybody owns a fraction of the NFT. So the use cases and the opportunities are endless in how this is going to go, and being able to transition. It's almost like a bridge between the digital world and the real world in NFTs. And I think, for example, Starbucks is doing something to onboard people without even having a wallet. You could own an NFT as a reward system. So I think NFTs are really going to be the gateway or onboarding ramp for a lot of people who don't understand what a wallet is, do not want to set up a wallet, but now their first exposure to blockchain technology will be an NFT, and they won't even know how anything in the back works because they don't need to know, right? So this is exciting. But if you just look at this NFT FI space, which is a big ecosystem, and then do you mind going to the next one? Apology.
Yeah.
So the ecosystem, we're not going to go through this, but there's so many companies and startups working in the lending, pricing, derivatives, analytics. You can deep dive this for weeks, right? The bottom line is there's a lot of cool use cases that we know currently, that we just covered three or four of them, and there's going to be at least another 15, 20 that are feasible, and more that's going to come out in the future that I'm excited about. So if you are interested in the NFT space, just from as an entrepreneur, there's a lot to be excited about.
Oh yeah,
Any
I think
thoughts?
this mix of NFT and DeFi, right? I think that's one of the things that's probably going to reach out to the real world and pull all those traditional assets into the blockchain, right? I think it seems like it is possible because you're talking about real estate backed with the NFT, or land or something physical that's backed with a digital counterpart. It's very interesting. I like it.
Perfect. I know we covered a couple of really interesting topics. How does cross chain bridges help basically make a being able to build in a different blockchain, settle in a different blockchain, and you can build something that's easier but have the security of a settlement layer of something like Ethereum makes it practical and feasible. I know there's a lot of development in that space, and just we touched upon a few amazing use cases for NFTs and where do we go from here. And I feel like the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see so much in this space, and we'll touch on some of these topics in some of our future episodes. But we're going to continue to deep dive in one or two topics every week along in this deep tech trends. So hope you guys stay with us for the journey. I will see you guys in 2 weeks. And thank you, Balaji, again for your time. That was amazing.
Awesome. Thanks, Rajni. Thanks for having me. And as for the audience, hope you all are as excited as we are with this space. There's a lot of cool stuff happening and almost every week, every day. So it's hard to keep up.
All right, perfect. Yes, we're gonna try to make it as easy to understand because there's a lot of techno. If you go into a rabbit hole, you can go into so many things that go over your head. So what we are trying to do is all the reading and meeting people and the things, the companies we see, we try to bring it to you so that it's a little bit more simple to understand the first level, and then you decide where you want to deep dive. So with that, thank you again, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you.